There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, there is none better in all of the world to bring you the good news of Christianity, conservatism, constitutionalism, capitalism, and individual sovereignty than the chairman of Black Americans for a Better Future. He is none other than Pulitzer Prize nominee Raynard Teddy Bear Jackson. Good evening, sir. It's a great pleasure to have you back on the program.
Yes, it is.
I want you to know you did a wonderful job putting together the video for Michelle Obama. You put a lot of effort into it. Only one thing, she didn't mention Kamala Harris.
Why would I do that? This is about me. Why would I share space for other people, man? Don't you know this is about me? Bill and Hillary ain't got nothing on my ego.
Do you believe that was done on purpose?
Well, of course it was. Or if you wanted to use the benign answer, well, obviously it was, the thing was pre-recorded, so you can say they recorded it before Biden made his pick public. But if that's the way you're going to go, it's like, okay, so once he decided how he was going to go, it takes 60 seconds to sit down. They can just edit in her inserting Harris's name. So, so technically, it was easy to solve that problem if they wanted it to. So I don't think Michelle wanted to go through all that, and she just wanted to do her thing and make the focus on her and get the heck out. Isn't it amazing how the media coverage of that last night, whenever Trump said something, they say Trump said so with no evidence. Well, yet Michelle sits up there and says about Cadence again, which is an outright lie. And the pick she was talking about happened under her husband's administration. Mm-hmm. And the media let her get away with that.
Exactly. I want to read to you something that, and let me just bring that up here. I want to read to you something that Chris Wallace said. Now, I know a lot of people have this idea that Fox News is the conservative news channel, and I like to explain to people that it really isn't. But this is what Chris Wallace said about Michelle Obama, Lady Michelle Obama's speech. He said, it's interesting. Michelle Obama, as she said, doesn't like politics. And she said that this speech was her main contribution to the Biden campaign. It was a heck of a contribution. She really flayed, sliced, and diced Donald Trump, talking about the chaos and confusion and lack of empathy, especially coming from this president and this White House. And again, very practical. Not just that is what your feeling should be, but you got to get up, you got to vote, you got to convince your neighbors to vote. This was a very effective speech. Do you feel the same way that Chris Wallace feels towards the Democrat Party, sir?
totally disagree with that. And Chris, I'm beginning to wonder about him. And he needs to just go join the Democratic Party and make it official, because he's been drifting left for a while now. And number one, how do you sit up here and look and straight in the camera if you're Michelle Obama and say you don't like politics when your whole adult life you've been in public office? How is that possible? And it goes unchallenged. How do you sit up here and fillet and slay and dice Trump when it's a one-way monologue? I mean, I could get if I know I'm not going to have an opponent debating me, I can say anything and it goes unchallenged. So if Chris Wallace and I was amazed last night that he did not say that she did not tell the truth about the cages. A lot of the things Michelle Obama said were factually not true.
Exactly.
And she knows that, and everyone knows that. And so, for people like Chris Wallace and others to, I'll tell you one thing I did say to people last night: her delivery of the speech was flawless, just delivery alone, style.
Mm-hmm.
But the substance of it, I mean, it was just outright lie.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the whole thing was a lie, and she delivered marvelously on delivering a lie.
Well, I mean, Aviva Perón was a great. Aviva Perón was a great speaker too, but she delivered Marxism and communism to the world. So
yeah, how did it work out for Peru?
How did it work out for Peru? I also want to ask you this because I think it was a threat to America. I really think she made a treasonous threat to America in her speech. And they did a lot of makeup to make her look 20 years younger. I'm talking. They probably still chiseling that stuff off her a couple of weeks after they actually filmed it. But Michelle Obama said, "If you think things cannot possibly get worse, trust me, they can." Isn't that a threat?
That is definitely one way to interpret what she said. And again, I have been involved in 4 or 5 presidential conventions, and one of the ground rules of any convention is you are to be optimistic. You are to be the 1984 Ronald Reagan mourning in America. What I saw last night was mourning, M-O-U-R-N-I-G, in America, not M-O-R-N-I-N-G, in America. And I found the whole tone last night and tonight, it was depressing because I'm trying to recognize the country they're talking about. Because if America is so bad, why is everyone trying to cross into the country legally and illegally to get in there?
Yeah. Also, one of the things that she said in her speech is that he can't be the president that we want him to be, pointing to her chest.
I have a problem with that point to her chest.
Exactly. Man-made, of course. But I want. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to get a fine or something. But I just want to say, in the sense that she's making that threat, but also saying that, Donald Trump is in over his head. He can't be the president we want him to be. Who's the we she's talking about? Is it America or is it the Democrat Marxist Party of America?
Again, when you have media not challenging her speech like you're doing and dissecting it and asking logical, relevant questions, you give her a pass like they gave her last night. So what Michelle Obama was saying, unless you are a radical liberal, then somehow you are not fit to be involved in the leadership of this country. You must be pushing a liberal agenda if you want to be accepted by us. And again, I am so just frustrated with the lack of an aggressive response last night from conservatives and this administration. I don't get it. I mean, I saw so many gaping holes as an attack line, and I just saw very little of our guys attacking all the fallacies in what went on last night.
Do you think that the Republicans were hurt by the fact that John Kasich delivered a speech there?
Who?
John Kasich. Remember, he was the Republican governor of Ohio. Remember him?
Heard of him? Never heard of him, man.
Never.
I mean, it sounds like he should be getting their job letter because heck, let's say he's an embarrassment, man. I mean, and the thing about it, he is positioning himself to run for president again in 24, and this guy, I mean, he will never ever be accepted in the Republican Party on any level for the rest of his life. I mean, he had just given up whatever shred of credibility he had left after his disastrous campaign. But isn't it amazing that people like him and Mitt Romney, they have been more aggressive in attacking Trump than they had on Bill Clinton and Obama when they were in the White House? They never came after. I'm talking about on policy. I ain't talking about on personal stuff.
Yeah.
Strictly on policy stuff. They never were this aggressive in attacking Obama and Clinton as they were with attacking Trump. And Trump, he invited some of this criticism on some of his behavior. But when you look at some of the policy things, now you can disagree with him on some of his policy, but these guys are just going after him personally. And they never did that with the Democrat, ever.
I want to ask you about Christine Urguiza, or Urguiza. She's a young woman that spoke via video on the COVID death of her father. Her father, who was a strong Trump supporter. And she basically gave what was considered a tear-jerking speech on attacking Donald Trump for his COVID-19 response. And she said her father died alone in the ICU with a nurse holding his hand. Literally, she's blaming the death of her father from COVID-19 on Donald Trump because he didn't take it seriously. And they always use this phraseology that he said it was a hoax. I want to get your point, sir. And why wasn't the right retaliating against this? Is it wrong to retaliate against this woman for her ignorance?
Well, number one, the answer is heck no. Number one. Number two, isn't it amazing that you are willing to pimp your father's death for political points and to move a political agenda? I had no way, if I had a family member that close to me, that I would inject their death into the political arena. Number two. Number three, her father, I assume, was a grown man.
Mm-hmm.
How do you take a grown man? Let's assume he listened to Trump and he was a supporter of Trump like she claimed. If Trump says go across the street and drink a bottle of arsenic, and you go across the street and drink a bottle of arsenic as a grown man, is that really Trump's fault? And so the point being, her father was an adult. He did what he wanted to do. How do you blame an adult's decision on another adult who had no connection to the person whatsoever? That's the part I don't understand. But see, again, the one of the core tenets of liberalism is when something bad happens to you, it must be someone else's fault. It can't be because you made a bad choice, or maybe it can't be, again, that sometimes bad things happen to good people for no reason.
Amen.
So since father died, she had to find someone to blame, and it had to be Trump, who never met the guy, never been in the same room. So how is he responsible for whatever decisions her father made?
I cannot even muster the understanding, or even the fact that the right-wing media, if it does exist, and beyond Ken McClinton and the exceptional conservative television network, I cannot understand how there isn't a group of reporters who go and challenge her on that. the whole concept that her father made a decision about his life, and that the only decision that he made was directly related to Donald Trump and his response. And his response, when you compare it to Joe Biden, who scoffed at Donald Trump for closing the borders between China and the U.S. And calling it racism. I mean, the number of people that he saved by doing that. Why isn't the right upholding what he's done? Why? Where is the right wing media? I would suppose and ask.
Well, one of the things I told you months ago that the campaign and the Republican Party need to have is a rapid response team, which obviously they don't have one, because they should have been fact checking this last night in real time on social media and on all the talking head shows after the convention was over last night. And I just don't understand where we are not being aggressive in responding and pushing back on this stuff. And so you have this little girl blaming her father's death on someone he's never met. And I just think that was just beyond the pale. And again, I don't understand how you inject your father's death into a political campaign. That's just the last thing will be on my mind if my father just died.
And speaking of death, we send our condolences to the family of the former president of the Young Democrats of Maryland, Joseph Kitchen, 34-year-old who was missing since early August after a Younger Democrats of Maryland meeting, and he was recently found on the weekend in Washington, D.C. He had been murdered. And I got to ask you here, because a lot of people aren't brazen enough to do it. I'm willing to. The policies of the Black Lives Matter movement and the Young Democrats of America has been to defund the police and to allow lawlessness to prevail. I send my utmost condolences, but is this part of what happens when you endorse lawlessness as a leader of a Democrat Party?
Well, this is some of the results of lawlessness. I mean, these criminals are getting so brazen now, because they know if you're in New York, even if you get arrested, you'll be out on bail within a couple of hours to do your next crime. And they know that you will not be punished if you're in Chicago for any of these crimes, or Seattle or Colorado. And so if I know I can get away with something like a little child, I'm going to push you as far as I can to see how far I can push you. And with this whole movement to defund the police, there is no line, because, it's like the Wild Wild West again. And until something happens to one of these prominent liberal white elite sons or daughters, it's going to continue to be black folks as guinea pigs.
Yeah. So the real racism is still being upheld by the Democrat Party. I got to ask you this: Rush Limbaugh has garnered a great deal of attention over the weekend and through the beginning of this week because his comments regarding Willie Brown, the San Francisco mayor, former Speaker of the Assembly, the kingmaker for California, Willie Brown, when he was
San Francisco tweet, right?
The San Francisco tweet that he is, yes. Apparently, he was banging Kamala Harris, and I apologize if I offend anybody by saying banging, but it is a consummate street term for having sexual relations with Kamala or Kamala Harris, however way she designs you to say it. And they say that he called her a hoe, but he didn't call her a hoe. He responded by reading the news story that Willie Brown called her a mattress. Now, what is far worse, to be called a hoe or a mattress?
Well, again, this is why you need to continue to sit at my feet and learn of my ways. You're missing the point. The point was Rush Limbaugh was reading a story that says all the things you're saying. He was not creating this as original content as far as what he thought. He was just quoting a story that's about Willie Brown calling her a mattress, and somehow the media re-engineered it into making it Rush Limbaugh said this, and he did not.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, Rush Limbaugh has nothing to explain, nothing to apologize for. Let the media deal with that. I wouldn't even acknowledge it, to be honest with you, man, because the record is quite clear. There's no ambiguity as to how all this came about and what Rush was doing. And so I will let the media just boil in their own stew.
Now, I want to ask you here, because I don't know, Joe Biden, early on in his relationship with Jill Biden, when she was married to another man and they were having an affair, was working with her husband to silence newspapers in Delaware that were supporting his opponent. And they paid bribes for doing so. How is it that Kamala Harris is not speaking to the LA Times and the Sacramento Bee and all the other California newspapers and telling them, if you print another story that by Willie Brown, or if you interview him, I'm going to make your life a living hell from Washington, D.C.? How come she doesn't have that kind of clout and that type of authority?
Well, number one, Willie Brown, man, he's 86, 87. He still is one of the most influential Democrats in the country. I mean, he's an old school power broker, and believe me, he got IOUs in his back pocket that he's just dying to have to cash in. So you don't want to play around with Willie Brown, because, like I said, he was scared the hell out of Bill Daley.
That's saying something right there. That's saying something.
So no, sometimes, man, let sleeping dogs lie or lay on mattress. Don't mess with Willie Brown. I'm telling you, do not mess with the boy, because he got so many secrets in his back pocket, man, and you don't want him reaching in his back pocket, man. I'm telling you.
Now,
he's a politician.
So I got to ask you right here, because you are a living strategist. You are one of the best men in politics. You understand how this system works inside and out. Kamala Harris has got to be the weakest vice presidential choice, because Mike Pence was strong not only of character but also his ability to command the press and keep things out of it, accordingly. She doesn't appear to have any power whatsoever, so much so that the Obamas looked over her pick, and Willie Brown is tearing her down in her own state, a state that he's supposed to deliver for Biden. So I got to ask you here, Kamala Harris, is this the biggest strategic mistake ever made by a presidential candidate going forward into October and November?
Well, you can make that argument because, number one, she brings nothing of value to the ticket. Biden is going to carry California regardless of who he picked. So we know that. She has no connection to the black community, so it's not like she was going to help with the black community. So she doesn't deliver a state. She doesn't deliver a demographic group. So why was she chosen? Because Joe Biden was bullied by Jim Clyburn and a lot of radical liberal black elite politicians from the Black Caucus to Al Sharpton to pick Harris, because they know if Biden loses, she will be considered the front runner for 24, and they want to own and control her. She wants power so badly that she's willing to, sell her own family down the stream, like her family sold black folks down the stream. But I digress.
I digress.
Yeah, but she's so power hungry and brazen about it that she wants power for the sake of power at all costs, but she brings nothing to the table. And what you find is, you got 47% of black folks say they do not support her. 47% of the latest poll do not support her. Wow. That's got to be mind-blowing to the Democrats and the Biden campaign. And when the general public finds out that she's married to a white guy, that she is more aligned with the boule in the black community. The elite is black, the Jack and Jill, the boules, the sororities, fraternity. She has no connection with the average black person who just goes to work every day. She's in tune with the talent, the tent, the elite of the black community. But when you go into the black community and ask just the average voter who's black, they have no knowledge of her. They have no connection with her. She's a dud, and I'm telling you, she's gonna prove to be a liability.
Now, and so I want to put a pin there, and I want to come back to that conversation next week with you, in terms of her being a liability. But here is where I want to go. AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, has amassed one of the most powerful strings to fellow Democrat, socialist, Marxists in the country. And in fact, one of her own chosen candidates beat Lacey out in St. Louis, who was a congressional black congressman. Okay, so
he's my friend and congressman forever.
Yeah, so she is displaying the type of, and she raised millions of dollars in just like a few moments when she asked during the Kavanaugh debacle that went on for the Democrats. She has not only monetary power, but she has now electoral power that she has amassed, but she only gets 60 seconds to speak tonight. So what is the message if Joe Biden picks Kamala Harris based on the recommendation of the Congressional Black Caucus and he loses? Does she now have the power to replace the Congressional Black Caucus?
Well, a couple things. Number one, she has no power. Again,
okay.
In politics, it's about votes. She got likes, followers, and forwards on social media. But remember when she first won, Nancy Pelosi checked her and said, hey, she's got a following. She got 4 votes. She has no votes. And even with the girl that beat Lacey Clay in St. Louis, and they won the other seat, Elliot Engel, I think, up in New York. So she may have maybe as high as 10 votes in her back pocket. Though that's a long way from 218 is what you need to have a majority in the House on legislation. So I think she's more of one of these Instagram people where they're popular and they got all these likes and followers, but how does that translate where it counts? And in Congress is the number of votes you can bring to get to 218. And to that extent, she's a media creation, but she cannot stop or start legislation. She does not have the votes. So I think a lot of people in the media, and let's be very honest, Ken.
Yeah.
If she looked like Stacey Abrams, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah, we would not be holding this conversation. But you know, Stacey Abrams is doing a very good job as governor of Georgia. She is.
No question.
No question.
Her and her girlfriend, yeah, no question.
They're doing a wonder. You know, she really believes she's governor of Georgia. Simply amazing. But let me ask you in follow up. Let me ask you in follow up to that though. Clyburn put all of his chips on Harris.
Well, that's the only thing he put on it.
Probably because Willie Brown got the
Says,
rest of it. Yeah,
oh,
he got the mattress. But
it's,
Doesn't Clyburn pay a price for forcing Joe Biden into this selection?
no, because Jim Clyburn is one of the most influential Black Democrats, and one day we'll get a chance to talk about this whole notion that he saved unilaterally Biden's campaign in South Carolina. The days of a power broker like a Richard Daley in Chicago, where they speak and people fall in line, those days are over decades ago. So to think that because Clyburn individually endorsed Biden's campaign before a week before Super Tuesday down in South Carolina, that all these Black folks didn't know how to vote until they heard from Clyburn. That's just so idiotic, and there is no empirical data. There's no way you can prove that. Yeah, Clyburn is an institution. Yeah, he's well respected, and people will listen to him. But people did not vote for Biden because of Jim Clyburn. They voted because that's who they wanted to vote for.
See, but
Period.
if you say that, and that's reasonably logical, if you say that, then the left will say that you are racist and don't understand the power of Jim Clyburn and Maxine Waters and all the other black leaders of the Congressional Black Caucus who are falling left and right to Black Lives Matter candidates and AOC candidates.
Well, see, the reason that don't work against me, Ken, that Clyburn is a friend of mine. We sit down and have lunch and dinner. Maxine Waters is from St. Louis, grew up with my parents, and I've known her all my life. So and that's what Republicans don't understand. They're the difference between having a black around you and having the right black around you.
There you
See,
go.
Candace Owens, Diamond and Silk, and all these buffoons they push out there, they don't have relationships like that to insulate them from all these ignorant charges that you'll get hit with, nor do they have the institutional knowledge and memory of who a Maxine was or Jim Crow. I mean, I actually sit down with these folks and talk to them, personally as well as about the legislation, and we laugh and joke about a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's amazing that Republicans, man, I think conservatives they better learn the art of communication and how to aggressively push back on a lot of this stuff, especially in these issues dealing with race, because right now we're getting our butts kicked by this whole Black Lives Matter bull crap, and it's embarrassing.
It really is. Raynard Teddy Bear Jackson, ladies and gentlemen, great friend, true strategist of unequal level, Black Americans for a Better Future chairman and Pulitzer Prize nominee. How can people get in contact with you, sir?
RaynardJackson.com is my corporate website, BlackAmericanForABetterFuture.org, or just Google my name, Raynard Jackson. All my social media will pop up, and more importantly, I'm not a AOC, so if you want to really dialogue, then send me an email or call me, and we can talk, because I don't believe in likes, followers, and forwards. I believe in relationships.
That's right. And listen, you may find Willie Brown via mattress on Facebook, but when you look under teddy bear pillow, you will find Kamala Harris. There you go.
I think a lot of folks will find her on that mattress, but I digress.
I digress. She's going to be on somebody's mattress after this because she has no power in California. Ladies and gentlemen, my good friend Raynard Teddy Bear Jackson, God bless you, man. We'll talk soon.
Okay, appreciate it, man.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that's why you need to have conservative black. I don't know if they consider me black. Am I considered black? I don't know. But you definitely need to have a conservative point of view that isn't stuck on the whole concept that, we are to be demurring, we are to say nothing, we just go along and we get along. Those days are numbered and they're over. Let me just say right now, if you're running for office, you need to get in contact with Raynard Jackson to learn how to win. He's got a background, a CV, a resume that speaks volumes to his power and his authority and his ability, you need to get in contact with him right away. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we've run out of time on this particular night. I did not get to this particular thing right here, and I will get to it. The whole concept by Common that somebody out there is trying to stop you from voting. I don't know what person is knocking on your door in the middle of the night saying if you vote, we're gonna do something to you. And there is no poll tax. The Democrats are no longer allowed by law to tax you at the polls or to give you a reading test at the polls. The Democrats can't do that anymore. So I don't know who's stopping you from voting. You don't even need ID in America, apparently. You just need an address at the cemetery, and that's enough to vote. So I'm going to let you all know without a shadow of a doubt. We'll talk about that tomorrow on this particular program. Janice Hall will be with us as well. And as well, Jamie Blanco will be, who's running in Texas, will be with us as well. Listen, I want to let you all know without a shadow of a doubt that I'm ever so thankful for you all tuning in and watching. And I want you all to remember just one thing. It's right above me. It's right here. God bless America. It's time for America to bless God. Good night, Dave. God bless you. Mary Brockman praying for you. Mrs. Biggs, love you. Muchas gracias. To everyone else who tuned in tonight and watched, thank you so much. God bless you. We will be talking tomorrow night with you.